Good afternoon. I'm happy to greet you all that joined us in Media Center Group Forum. Olga Tapanova is with you. And now our next speaker, Petro Kotin, head of Energoatom company. And we're talking about the status of nuclear objects in Ukraine. Please, the floor is yours. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me the floor. You know, the situation in Ukraine is quite intense due to the martial law, and the most dangerous situation is with the nuclear objects, the civil nuclear objects in Ukraine. We have 4 nuclear stations in Ukraine operating, and one of them currently, Zaporizhzhia nuclear station, for 2 months is occupied by occupants, and they're there on the nuclear station. And that's the biggest nuclear station, not only in Ukraine, but in Europe. And we have 6 energy blocks there, 6,000 megawatt of electricity it produces. And this station now, over 500 soldiers of Russian Federation are there. Also have equipment, armored vehicles, tanks, or all military vehicles for infantry, and also explosives, and also weapons, items that don't have to be on the nuclear objects. That creates very dangerous conditions for employees to work there. We continue control of the station from the standpoint of use of it, and the personnel operates under our technical supervision and follows our instructions. Also, few Langer blocks operate and work for energy system of Ukraine, the electricity, sufficient with atomic energy for energy system of Ukraine. At the same time, the personnel works under big pressure of occupants and their effects of humiliation, personnel being humiliated by occupants. Some of them were kidnapped by occupants. About a week ago, one of our employees of repair was shot at his home from by occupants. And right now he's wounded, he's severely wounded, and he's in a hospital. He was shot from AK, and he's still alive, and doctors are struggling to save his life. This situation of capturing the nuclear object and capturing nuclear objects in Ukraine, it's the first in a history when occupants can actually enter the country like Ukraine, who has developed nuclear infrastructure, and for the first time nuclear station were attacked from the tanks, and they were shooting the objects and infrastructure of the nuclear station. That's for the first time. It's nuclear terrorism, facts of nuclear terrorism from the occupants. And we believe that it will be evaluated and the occupants will be punished, will get well-deserved punishment. To ensure safety in Ukraine and in the world, and to sustain this safety and security, we need to free the nuclear station, occupied nuclear station, from Russian occupants. Thank you, Mr. Petro. Lately, we are hearing a lot of communications that we're sufficient enough to provide our own electricity for ourselves, but we understand that exports is additional money for the budget. Are we prepared for to export electric energy? There are technical issues and an economical space and political. Technically, so 3 dimensions to it. So technically, we're limited to the landlines that we have connected with Europe. We're connected to the European energy system, and overall capability is about 700 megawatt. So in the end of the day, in the situation that we currently have, we'll be able to export about 700 megawatt. Right now, we have agreements about 200 megawatt with a gradual increase of exports in October to reach 700. Also, there are additional lines that we're working on to launch them. Firstly, that's the line between Khmelnytski nuclear station and Rzeszów in Poland. This line could add about 1,000 megawatt to exports. How fast we can do that, it will depend on the will of Poland and Ukraine and on the technical solutions that will and technical decisions will be made. We have several online questions from Ukraine Forum. First, we have uranium ore reserves and some elements we import. Can we produce those elements for atomic reactors ourselves? The element to produce those elements for atomic reactors, first we need zirconium tubes, zirconium plus niobium, the blend, and the line. We would need the line to make those tubes, zirconium tubes. That's a 9.1 millimeter diameter tubes and 3.3.5 meters length. Those tubes we cannot produce ourselves in Ukraine. And someday in Ukraine we used to have zirconium production. However, currently it doesn't exist for a long, long time. And Dnieperspetsstal enterprise, they had a situation that they closed it. And to renew it, we would need investment about 150 million US dollars just to produce zirconium and to make special mix out of it. And out of that mix, it would be needed to make those tubes. Therefore, naturally, to the extent, in the amount of fuel that we produce in Ukraine, there is no sense to make those huge investments to make zirconium in Ukraine. It's a lot cheaper, a lot economically beneficial, more economically beneficial to import this part from abroad. Also, next question, to make that, well, we need uranium pills. We have uranium ore. We can make uranium product, uranium concentrate, but after that, it has to be enriched. And after that, those pills, so-called pills, are made out of it. We don't have economical, political, or technical technologies, and we don't have the license to make those operations of uranium enrichments in Ukraine. Therefore, currently, it's impossible for us. Before the full-scale invasion, Energoatom and Western House agreed on finishing construction of Kharkiv, of Hyas, an atomic station. What are the plans? We continue all investment projects what we planned before the war. And during the martial law, we finished. It's a witness of our intention. We finished 3 big projects. First, we received the license for launching Skyat in Chernobyl zone, and we can load fuel there in the containers and install them in Skyat. Second, we launched Hydra unit in Tashlik. It's fully attached to energy system of Ukraine, 150 megawatt of electricity, and that capacity allows us for a maneuver that we lack. Also, it's a large-scale project. And the third, we recently, just 2 days ago, launched the second step of Southern Atomic Station, a third and fourth pool of chilling of Tashlik water basin. This this will allow us in the summertime to the full use the Southern Atomic Station in summer It will be 600 megawatt from southern Ukrainian atomic station. Also, we continue operation on preparing the platform for Khmelnytsky atomic station, as you asked, and we planned a lot of operations this week and the pending weeks, and you will hear about it, indubitably. Also, one more online question. At the start of full-scale invasion on Rivne atomic station, there were Rosatom employees that were working with, and there were issues that they were afraid to return home. What is the destiny of those people, of Rosatom people? They were exchanged for Ukrainian citizens. And in that period, they accompanied the cargo with fuel that was moved here to Rivne atomic station. There were 4 people. They had to accompany the cargo to keep it secure, and if there is some emergency situation, to react technically to that cargo. They were on the territory of Rivne atomic station for 1 month, and the war started. But according to the contract agreement, they had to stay there because, well, the contract ends after the elements that were brought had to be unloaded. After they were unloaded, they were given to the security service of Ukraine. They made a statement that you're saying, and they were transferred to Russian. Please, questions to your colleagues. Japanese company Nishiki, does there exist technological danger to cut nuclear energy produced in Zaporizhia from the territory of Ukraine and give it only to occupied territory? Well, technically, or in theory, everything is possible. We can fantasize and speak about theories, how it's possible to do, but currently there are no preconditions for it in current conditions. It's impossible in current conditions because Zaporizhia atomic plant, nuclear plant, it's connected to the energy system of Ukraine. It's fully works in the energy system of Ukraine, and it's connected to hydroelectric station next to Zaporizhia nuclear station. And with the lines, it's connected to the energy system of Ukraine. In order to, there are some lines for Crimea, but they've been damaged since 2015. So it's all possible to do, but it would require a lot of time, a lot of work onto project, firstly, and huge investments to do it, to implement it. Speaking about the expenses and time, we can compare it to the construction of Crimean Bridge. Speaking of time frames and investments, it will be close to connect. That will require to connect Zaporizhia nuclear plant to the occupied territory.
Okay. You mentioned the Russian army create very dangerous situation by putting explosives and weapons near the plant. And do you think Russian army recognize the danger, and how do you monitor the situation? I mean the security situation. Thank you.
What I would like to say in this, well, we understand that explosives on the platform of nuclear plant, where it can accidentally explode, it's really dangerous. It's there with the nuclear objects, where there are many nuclear materials there. 6 reactors, fully filled with nuclear material, fresh fuel, 6 basins near to reactions, 6 pools. Also, it has nuclear material that was already processed, that is stored there until it's possible to remove it from the nuclear blocks. And also there is dry storage for processed nuclear fuel. That's seventh nuclear station that represents danger. When Russians entered this territory of Zaporizhia nuclear station, the convoy of had tanks, armored infantry vehicles, Ural infantry vehicles, and they started shooting the administrative buildings and the coordination center that they destroyed, and also infrastructure of the station. They also damaged the piping that connects nuclear blocks with a special block, so-called special block, with a building where special water is prepared for energy blocks. Also, they hit block transformator of the 6th block. And it's a miracle that we didn't have a fire there. So this all, when they entered there, all the time when they started shooting energy blocks, via loudspeakers from the station, the information was constantly conveyed in Russian. Stop. This is a nuclear object. Stop shooting. Your actions could lead to nuclear catastrophe, but it didn't stop them. They weren't listening. Then we just asked them, why did you come? Nobody understood what was the purpose of capturing firstly Chernobyl nuclear station, then they left it. Now they captured Zaporizhia nuclear station, and we understand what they're doing there and why they're there. What's the purpose? So they damage the physical protection, physical safety of nuclear station, but operative use safety, nuclear safety, it's sustained by our personnel. For them, the Russians just make up why they captured it. Just the question that you asked right now about moving energy to Russia. Also, they said they will sell energy to Ukraine. That's why we captured it, they say. But this is nonsense. Actually, it's nonsense. They make things up. It's impossible to implement what they're saying. Therefore, to say today that they really understand why they're there, why they captured it, we don't have an impression that they understand why they're there, why they captured it. And the main is psychological pressure on personnel. This danger is really severe because our personnel, our people, our specialists, instead of thinking of radiological safety, they firstly think what happened to their families in Energodar, where the occupants conduct, where they act as murderers, where they stop people, they capture people, where they beat people, where they torture people, torture civilians. Viktor Melnikov, CGTN. Please tell us, by how many percent the energy production will drop in the country? Well, I can tell you that since the start of the war, the consumption of electric energy dropped. The consumption dropped. It dropped, for the most part, from the industry, from the industry sector, roughly by 38%. On industry, it shortened about 18%. It shortened for civilians, for civilian consumers, meaning the population. Thus, overall, about 30% the consumption dropped. And for our station, we produce about a half for what we could produce. Practically half of it, of an energy block, just works. And I want to remind that 4 months ago, in winter, all 15 energy blocks, all 15 energy blocks were operating, and now only a half. And the majority of energy blocks on Zaporizhia station are stopped. They're in cold state. That's the most safe for those energy blocks. other energy blocks that are operating right now, they're more than sufficient to provide to cover the demand that exists in the energy system of Ukraine, about 1,000 megawatt. We could add 1,000 right now as we speak to the energy system. More questions? Recall Basat TV. I have two questions. Could it be a blackmail element, this nuclear station capturing by Russians? And more in detail about Khmelnytsky atomic station with the Rzeszów atomic station, about that connection. Thank you. Naturally, capturing a nuclear station, indubitably, that's nuclear terrorism. And a lot of reasons, there are a lot of reasons why they could do it. And we can fantasize only why they did it, because nobody knows for sure why. Firstly, I want to recall that in 2000s, Putin came up with the idea to unite nuclear complex of Ukraine and Russia. And back then, about maybe a year and a half, there were some even sessions on this topic. And then, back then, they were seriously thinking that they can follow this path and unite under the Moscow government to grab all the nuclear sphere of Ukraine. Maybe they have those memories, phantomic memories, and they think they're able to do it. And they started capturing our nuclear objects. The other thing is that they use them indubitably as a military base, as military bases. The Zaporizhia nuclear plant, in peaceful times, it's enforced object. It has a good fence, special around the premises, special places for shelter of personnel if there is an emergency, big territories with beds and everything for personnel, should that happen. Also, those stations are united. They have also canteens and dining facilities and other infrastructure that is needed for a lot of personnel stay there and feed them, and so they stay. To provide all the necessary for them. So all that is used by Russians as a military base to locate their personnel, their military, and to stay there. That's one issue. Other issue, the occupants occupied it, possibly to protect themselves with the presence of the nuclear material that's there, because nobody's saying, no sane person will shoot out of tanks to the other objects, except for the occupants and for Russians. They understand we cannot just come there and start an assault on the station, because it's simply dangerous. Therefore, the station themselves protects them while they're there. That's why they're there. With regards to the lines, Khmelnytsky, Rzeszów, currently the line in general, we assessed how fastly we can launch it. We can launch it depending on the decisions that will be passed, technical, from 3 months to about a year and a half. After that, we'll be able to supply for exports 1,000, 1,500, just on this line alone, from Ukrainian energy systems, and also be able to receive electric energy from the EU if we would need it. Thank you. More questions? No more questions. Thank you for joining us and finding time for us. Petro Kotin was with us, head of Energoatom. Thank you very much, dear friends. I remind you that at 3 o'clock we'll have an expert session with journalists regarding the situation in Crimea.